hit the button.
Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Rob, brought to you with a special Hump Day show. Hey now.
Hump Day!
Hump Day!
Hump
Whatever
Day!
happened to that camel?
That was, listen, one of the best commercials they ever had. I'm sorry. Geico, whoever ran their advertising like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't know. I'm so old that I don't know what year it is anymore.
It had to be like 15 years ago, right?
Had genius. Absolute genius. Every single freaking commercial they had was amazing. It's like, you know, even like the weird stuff, like the caveman stuff, and they became so popular, it became a TV show. Like it's insanity. Absolute insanity. So anyway, speaking of insanity, we're here to talk about the Giants.
Hey, oh, nice segue.
That's basically where we're at here. Masochists and crazy people and doing all kinds of stupid things, like rooting for the Giants still, even though we've been losing for how many years. We can't help ourselves. And we know you all can't help yourself either. So here we go. Let's talk about the Giants. Now, it's not an episode right now without doing a little talk about a certain man who has literally basically taken the offseason of 3 or 4 teams hostage at this point, Aaron Rodgers. Now, we're trying to give you guys updates without beating the dead horse, so to speak, there. So the new news that we have since last we saw you, since last time on, as the mushrooms turn.
Drill mushrooms.
Yes. It's like Groundhog Day. Will he come out of his cave of mushrooms and pick a team? Nope. Aaron Rodgers got scared again. He went back in his cave. But I guess that means 6 more weeks of free agency. But the biggest news they got right now coming out is we talked about last time where he wanted to play for Minnesota. Like that seems to be his preferred place to go. There's been some question whether or not they'd want to have him in Minnesota, which is kind of scary. So we talked about it at the time where I said, you know, I watched there be some kind of thing where we find an update on Aaron Rodgers and JJ McCarthy, and somehow that's where these things are coming into play, because I feel like the Vikings were kind of stringing Rodgers along, hoping that basically what would happen is they'd find out about JJ McCarthy and an injury update with all the surgeries he's had in his leg now. Now, I haven't heard anything as far as an update on JJ McCarthy. Let me be very clear on that. So I have no proof that's what's going on. This is my personal opinion. But things are trending that I may have been right. So NFL insider Tom Pelissero on X, Twitter, tweeting, social media thing that limits your characters that we're on right now live. The Vikings have rejected multiple trade calls on JJ McCarthy, telling other teams they're moving forward with him as their quarterback, sources say. The team plans to add a veteran, but they're not pursuing Aaron Rodgers at this time. McCarthy now enters the offseason as QB1. And this is what we've been saying. Like, why would you want, if you're Aaron Rodgers, to go there and get blocked by JJ McCarthy? Like, all the people that are going to get blocked, it's let's be honest, it's JJ McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers is the biggest block on Aaron Rodgers. The Giants, if they draft a quarterback, there's no guarantee he even plays this year. Tommy DeVito is sure not going to be like outperforming Aaron Rodgers. And if he does, let's be very frank in saying that Aaron Rodgers needs to retire very quickly if that happens. You know,
very fast.
You go to the Steelers and they got Mason Rudolph. There's a rumor they might want to draft a quarterback as well. So they're kind of in the same exact boat as the Giants. though you could argue Mason Rudolph's probably a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. There's not many quarterbacks I would say is better than Mason Rudolph, but you very well.
Say, Mike Tomlin's, one of the best head coaches in modern football.
Are you saying Brian Dable's not? He was coach of the year just a few years ago.
Yeah. But he's not the best in modern football. He's not one of the best, I should say.
And he's doubled his win totals in just 2 more years after that 1 year.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like I said, they're you look at what's going on right now with the teams, and it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and look at the Vikings because all the weapons. But like I said, he's being blocked by McCarthy, and it seems like that's exactly what's going on because they're going ahead and saying point blank now, in a roundabout way, by letting it kind of leak, that they're not going to go ahead and go after him because of that. So, we'll have to see what happens. As we're reading this, sorry if you see the stop we're talking about here in this delayed my talking, which I know I set up, is because we got here from Dennis. A report just came out that Wilson will be signing momentarily per Doug Rush. Let's see here. That's not what I'm seeing here so far.
I was just looking it up myself.
Yeah, here's what I'm seeing. This is okay. Because we don't do this usually because I like to make our own content, but we're gonna go off of Doug Rush specifically. So let's give him the credit for this because I'm gonna give you guys verbatim word for word what he put since this is live on the show happening. He put Russell Wilson reportedly sees the Giants and their quarterback situation a more viable option for agency over the Steelers, who currently view Wilson more as a backup plan to Aaron Rodgers. And this is now the quote that he's giving, which is actually from Jeremy Fowler. So now we're quoting Doug Rush, who's quoting Jeremy Fowler. This is like I'm waiting for Kevin Bacon to get involved. This is his first foray in free agency in 20 years. So really nobody outside of his inner circle knows exactly what to expect. I get the sense, although this is fluid, the sense that Pittsburgh is willing to wait this out a little bit. Rodgers is a top target, so they'll see where it goes. They got Russell Wilson sort of as a contingency, but he's sort of been number 2. Number 3 on their list all along. So I'm told that Russell Wilson sees the Giants as a more of a viable option for him throughout this process. And then Doug goes on to say, Wilson visited the Giants last week, is reportedly ready to sign at any moment. So he's not saying that we're signing him. He's saying that he's ready to sign once the Giants are ready. And we've been talking about this for quite a while, that he's probably the second most talented if you want to take out the Aaron Rodgers part of it there, but maybe the best fit because of the fact that he's not a head case. Who said that? What?
Not anymore. Going to Broncos humbled them a lot because there was a lot of rumors coming out when after winning the Super Bowl, after being the number 1 guy in Seattle, going over to the Broncos, he had his own
office.
Pretty much his office, his secretary, teammates couldn't talk to him, and that first year, let's ride, humbled him big time. And it seems to like going to Pittsburgh was one of the best things after we'll say quote unquote getting fired. It humbled him a lot, and he looks like to be that old Russell Wilson, just
not as good, like a watered down version of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, old like young Russell Wilson, but old because he's actually aged in that 10 years.
It's weird because he looks the same as when he was like at his peak.
Yeah,
like,
he's got a little.
You look at Aaron Rodgers and you can tell like that man is probably going to sell life insurance next week. But like you look at Russell Wilson, he looks the same as when he was like peak Russell Wilson. So I think sometimes we lose that because we look at him mentally and go, "That's Russell Wilson." And you look at Aaron Rodgers, like that was Aaron Rodgers. Like he's getting old. Like he looks like the drunken Santa at a bad mall. Like it just.
Well, yeah, I mean, Russell was drafted 2012.
He's 36, if that's where you're going with.
Yeah. 2012 compared to Rodgers was
41, I think.
Yeah.
So you're talking 5 years difference. I mean, 5 years is 5 years.
Big, listen, when you're talking NFL, that's miles. That's, decades.
It's longer than the average career.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, we'll have to see where that goes. But that's what he's saying. He's not saying we're going to sign Russell Wilson. He's saying that Russell Wilson wants to sign with the Giants. He sees this as the best option, which is good to hear. At least somebody wants this.
Yeah.
Back to the guy who really doesn't want us, Aaron Rodgers. Diana Rossini of The Athletic said, there is no in or out on Aaron Rodgers from Minnesota. They're simply not making a decision at this time. Now we wait to see what Rodgers wants to do. The Vikings have reportedly strongly considered and will continue to monitor Aaron Rodgers as an option, but they're not ready to commit at this point of the process, per sources. They understand this could lead to him signing elsewhere or retiring. J.J. McCarthy's spring is key. So, yeah, this is basically, she's not saying it, but she is saying it at the same point, because you hear reports about Aaron Rodgers supposedly being willing to wait until like draft time to sign on the team, which, first off, we're still talking about Aaron Rodgers in a month from now. Oh my God, I'll be flipping out.
100%.
But here's the thing is that, listen to that, J.J. McCarthy's spring. Spring is like May.
Spring
is, this is why I'm saying. Days. Is it 2 days?
Yeah, March 21st, is it?
Well, I don't know, but they're not going to go like, "Ooh, it's the first of the day of spring. Let's go sign Aaron Rodgers." I just feel like there's a lot of J.J. McCarthy's health that's determining this, and that's a wild card. And is Aaron Rodgers willing to wait around to see if this wild card plays out or not?
Yeah, listen, he's banking on, McCarthy had surgery, right? Does he come back 100%? Do you want to sit the guy that you just drafted who didn't play, that didn't have a single start for you last year?
Yeah,
who's supposed to be your guy to take over? He's Aaron Rodgers' mind's probably at, I could go in there as he's getting healthy, sit behind me. That's what some of the best guys in the league do. They sit behind a veteran guy, and the kid could learn from me.
Yeah.
But what the Vikings are saying is, no, we drafted this guy. He's a lot cheaper, and we want to start him as soon as we can. And Rodgers like, no, I want to play his full year. That's probably the battle. And it's the flip point and the sale point of what's going to happen. Like, do you think that JJ can play healthy this year coming off this injuries or not?
There's also the rumor that Aaron Rodgers wants a 2-year fully guaranteed contract. That's going to scare off a lot of teams, because it's not like he's going to be signing for $5 million. So you're going to give him, what, a 2-year, $70 million contract fully guaranteed?
To a 41-year-old, so he can play till he's 43?
There's only one team I can think of that would do that right now, and that is the Steelers. Let's be honest. The Giants are going to potentially draft somebody at 3. They're not going to let Aaron Rodgers play for 2 years. The Minnesota Vikings want J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback. That leaves you the one option. Because I haven't heard anything about Aaron Rodgers and the Browns or the Titans, the other two teams that kind of get in this quarterback shuffle here.
Well, let's be real. Like, the Browns already made a mistake about fully guaranteed money to a quarterback.
Yeah, they did.
So, yes, they did. And they're about to come off that contract. Do you think they want to dive right back into another fully guaranteed?
Yeah. Well, it's different for 2 years than it is for 5 or 6 years, whatever the hell.
You're right.
Still.
Well, yeah.
I don't disagree with you, but I got to point out the difference, though.
There's a big difference, but you give 5 years to a young guy who hasn't given you one full year.
Who is kept nice and loose.
Oh, yeah, Metaphorically or literally?
Both.
But then you got Aaron Rodgers, who's like, you're hoping. How old was Deshaun Watson when he got at 26? So you're thinking 31. You're talking
Deshaun Watson. He's like what, 29, 30 now?
That's what I'm saying. So he signed that deal at 26, right, for 5 years, giving him to.
He is 29. He'll be 30 at the start of the season.
Yeah. So this is last season. So yeah, 26. He signed it. He's 26 years old, so it gives him to 31.
And it's sad. The next thing that comes up about him is the fact that he got engaged a couple of days ago, apparently.
That masseuse must be a really nice lady. But now you're talking about fully guaranteed money to someone that's 15 years older. And yes, it's different.
Not 15, 7.
No, I'm saying, well, Deshaun Watson was 26 when he got 5 years fully guaranteed.
I get that, but you're not doing the beginning. You're talking about the current. So you got a
but
guy
it goes hand in hand.
I don't think it does. You're talking 2 years. You're talking 2 years. There's a big difference in the ages on them, but there's also a big difference in the contract lengths, and that's got to be part of this equation. He's not looking for a 5-6 year deal. He knows in 5-6 years he'll be, somewhere like broadcasting for Joe Rogan about football or something. Who knows what he's been doing?
He'll be in the middle of New Mexico doing mushrooms.
Oh God. But yeah, like I said, we'll have to take a look and see. But it seems like the Vikings are like he's a backup plan to them. Based on just everything I'm seeing, I just feel like you're looking at a team that wants to pick him, and he should want to be picked by. It's the Steelers. I do think that a report on Russell Wilson's going to come true. I do think Russell Wilson will come to the Giants. My personal opinion. We'll find out if I'm correct.
Get him in, Winston. Get them both in this room.
I've said that multiple times.
Yep, and draft a quarterback as well,
or even him and Flacco. Like I don't care. I just want whoever we draft not to be forced to play. You know, that's what I think. So, see, Salvatore says the beards are on fire, gentlemen.
Muchas gracias.
This beards are on fire.
Ah!
We want a beard if they go on fire. He also says, I want no part of Rodgers and the Giants, boys. Give me Jameis Winston all day. Especially around dinner time. He comes with his own meal. He crab legs all around.
We're having crab cakes. We're having crab legs.
Let's see here. Salvatore says, can Kevin Bacon throw the rock? Probably about as good as Daniel Jones.
I was about to say, could it be that much worse than any of the Giants quarterbacks last year?
Kelsey says he'll be doing Wrangler jean commercials in 5 years. Well, don't forget Coppertone. Don't forget Coppertone.
Oh, yeah.
Not Coppertone, the sunscreen. Copper, the thing you put on your joints that does
copper
absolutely
bands.
Nothing for. Whatever, copper bands.
Yeah.
Perhaps he can go to the state of California and get some kind of donations that are supposed to go to charities and take them from the people, which is definitely not something Aaron Rodgers did. I would never. I would definitely not that Brett Favre would do. I would never allege that Brett Favre would do something like that. That would be wrong. That would be wrong and slander. I would never do such a thing. Exactly. Until he gets sacked by Gastineau. Anyway, let's talk about another quarterback. Because there's been a one. Listen, you guys have been brought him up, I feel like, on a daily basis in our chats. So I'm hearing more and more about this, and the story will not go away. So what the hell? Let's dive into it.
Let's go.
Should the Giants? We got the comments still up here.
The goober.
Should the Giants trade for Joe Milton III, Esquire? I'm just adding the Esquire because it seems like it should be there.
When you're the third, it's like it should be third Esquire.
Yeah, it should. It should be automatically. And Pinky is out when we discuss him. But the rumor is he's available for a third round pick. That's the rumor. And everything about the excitement for this guy is based on his week 18 against the Bills, the final game of the season. It's the final game. But they rested all the defensive players in Buffalo. Like I don't think people are seeming to realize this. Like I feel like people saw the highlights and whoa, he can throw. Yeah, he threw was basically a preseason game, guys.
Pretty much.
Ooh. He does like to copy Brett, but this whole thing.
Yeah.
Week 18. Here was his numbers against the Bills, which again, they're not saying their starters sat the whole time, but they're this was like basically a preseason game for this team. 22 of 29, 241 yards, 1 touchdown, 10 rushes for 16 yards and a touchdown. Listen, if that was against the starters for the Bills, I would get the hype 100%, guys. 100%. Get the hype. But it's not what happened. That's not what happened. He played against the backups in a meaningless game. That the biggest thing the Bills wanted to do was not get anyone else hurt.
Yeah.
Like that was their goal. Don't get hurt. Let's go into the postseason.
Number 2 seed in the postseason. Who cares?
Yeah. And let's also just say the fact that if let's say for a second here, the Patriots really wanted him to succeed and thought he had a chance to succeed, wouldn't you keep him? The guy was a 5th round draft pick?
No,
6th round?
Yeah. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to juice up what he did in that last game. Try to sell him off as high value as they can.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to get at, though. They're not just letting him go. which is one thing. It's one thing to say, you know what? We're holding you back. Drake May's blocking you. Let's take a look at the options are. First off, no team ever does that. They hold on to cheap contracts. 6th-round draft pick to be your backup. You're paying them like a couple $100,000 a year to be your backup quarterback. Most teams would take that in a goddamn heartbeat. But they also signed Joshua Dobbs to be their backup to Drake May. So if they don't hypothetically trade Joe Milton away, he's going to be a third string quarterback for the Patriots. Why would you give up anything of value, which a day 2 pick is a valuable pick, guys? Why would you give up anything of value for a guy that the team is on now clearly has no faith in him whatsoever and is trying to strike while the iron's hot? Because that's what I feel like this is.
100%. I mean, granted, the Drake May pick seemed to be a good pick for the Patriots. A good fit.
Yes.
He has played well for them. So it's not taking anything away. So far, yes. Thus far, if you will. So, like, it's not to knock Milton off that because May has been playing well. But if you're bringing up another quarterback to be the backup, means you don't have faith in this guy to be your backup. So why would you trade your valuable pick for him to be your starter elsewhere?
You gotta have faith.
Dun, dun. Oh, I guess it would be nice if we could get a quarterback.
Get the F up.
Yeah.
Go to Limp Bizkit version randomly. But yeah, I don't know. Like, you wouldn't do it if you had faith in this guy whatsoever. You wouldn't. And we can't be so desperate for a quarterback that we're going to take the 3rd string quarterback for the Patriots and hope he pans out.
Yeah.
Hope he pans out. How did he do in Tennessee, by the way? Not good. He went to 2 big schools, guys, and did not look at either one. I'm sorry. Like, I remember you and I talking about him in the draft. And we said point blank, his ceiling is probably a backup quarterback. He's a project that may never pan out.
Yeah. Listen, this trade bait scenario is kind of proving it.
Yeah. Even the Patriots don't trust him.
Because he looked good. He didn't look great. He looked good against the Bills' backups. And their backups. They're 2nd and 3rd string players.
Yes. Listen, a lot of people look good in preseason games. That's basically what that was. Don't think of it as more than what it is. It is what it is. Roberts is not for a 3rd. Patriots took him with the 6th pick. So there is a problem. Nice haircut, Andrew. We have about 2 hairs left to cut. That's about it at this point. But yes, thank you. As Robert says, yes, 6th. Deb says there's a reason why New England is letting him go. Hells yeah, there is.
Yep. So
there is problems. Is any interest in Milroe at quarterback in the 2nd round? Has a few elite traits. He's a project, though. We will talk about him in a little bit there because we're going to do a segment on top quarterbacks here in this draft. But yeah, no, I'm good. Spoiler, not a fan.
Well,
Deb says at least New England's trying to get something for Milton. Giants have let 3 players walk without trading them and got zip. Yeah, no, like I said, it's smart. I give them the credit. Your other comment there, Deb, we're going to get to that segment later on today. That's the reason I'm going to go ahead and skip it. Or it's the next segment. What the hell? Let's just go into it.
Segue.
I heard they were offered a trade for Azeez and did not take it. Oh, yeah. And that's what we got to talk about here because that is the rumor going on right now. The Giants literally had an offer in hand for Azeez Ojulari at the trade deadline and didn't take it. Now, this is coming from Jordan Raanan, ESPN beat writer for the Giants, hosted the Breaking Big Blue podcast for ESPN. He says the Giants were 2-7 at the trade deadline. Heard at the time a 5th-round pick was offered for Azeez Ojulari, but Kayvon Thibodeaux was injured at the time. Ojulari starting. Giants decided to keep him. Ojulari eventually got injured again, and now he chose to go elsewhere. Now, the biggest thing for me, guys, isn't even the fact that the Giants are freaking morons for not taking a draft pick for this guy. The biggest thing for me is the last few words he said. He chose to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of Giants fans. Oh, why the Giants let him leave? We could afford $4 million. Guys, you don't get to choose. You don't get to choose this. Think about what companies are in your current field that you don't work for. Why? Because you got to choose where you work. It's the same for a quarterback there once they get past their, I was sorry, for an edge rusher, once they get past their initial draft contract there. He got to choose where he went to go, and that's what he chose. But I wonder in this whole thing, it's bringing me back memories of Hard Knocks last year when he was all surprised that Tyrod Taylor didn't want to come back to the Giants. I got to ask, did Joe Schoen even know that Azeez Ojulari did not want to come back?
Yeah, you have to assume at this point he had no idea. Just kind of like he was kind of shocked, I guess, like the whole Barkley situation. Like, oh, why would he just leave for like $500,000 more? We're not gonna pay that guy that much money. Like, he's definitely that leader that's in the room that's not in the same room, but the room next door that's not getting the same message.
He's like that boss that never leaves the office and doesn't know anybody works for him.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. Because it's like he's just so goddamn oblivious. Like I don't get that. Like, how are you that oblivious to not realize that guys don't like there? They don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
Like that's, football players tend to be very passionate people. They tend to be people that speak their mind, and it's usually not difficult to get out of them what they're thinking.
Typically.
Not. So I don't get it. Now, that aside for a moment. That aside, what I do think is the Giants are nuts for not taking anything they were offered at this point for Azeez Ojulari. If they did know that he wanted to leave. Now, if you thought he wanted to stay and you could re-sign him, then I'm fine with keeping him instead of a 5th-round pick. Azeez Ojulari is a better player than what you would get for a 5th-round pick. Let's be honest here. Now, you could also make the case that the Giants have done good in the 5th round, especially the Joe Schoen era, which is not much I can give Joe Schoen credit for. But you got McFadden came from the 5th round. Tyrone Tracy came from the 5th round. They've actually done pretty decent. One of the few rounds we have done decent in. But I don't know. To me, it seems a little crazy. Like, if you knew he was going to go, then you're stupid for not getting something. But if you didn't know he's going to go, then I can't blame you for trying to hold on to him and re-sign him. So that's the question. Did he know? Is Joe Schoen stupid? Or does he actually know what's going on in his players' minds?
It's not that he's stupid or not. He's just not there to read the room.
Bottle.
Yeah. I used to work with a manager in a warehouse that he literally would put on his...
Was it the men's warehouse?
The men's warehouse. He would put on his on his Outlook calendar once a month to walk around the plant, to like every other week to walk around the plant to say hello to people out there.
Once a month.
That's how far removed he was. Like, there's people that were working there for months, or like as he's walking by in a suit and a dirty warehouse, they're like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, that's the guy that's supposed to be running this building, and you don't know who he is. He interviewed you. He gave you your final interview. You don't know who he is?
Well, he didn't give you the final interview yet. He wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's disheartening to hear, because it's not wrong to sit there and blast the Giants for losing players and not getting anything back for them. Let's be honest. Like, this team has done nothing with those players. It would have done nothing without those players. We could have got some extra picks out of it. Like, considering the draft class we had last year, wouldn't you have loved if we traded away, like, like a Saquon Barkley, for example? We traded away, let's say, Xavier McKinney, and got some picks for these guys. Now, granted, we're going to get a 3rd-round pick for the whole Xavier McKinney leaving thing this year, but I find it hard to believe we couldn't get more picks for these guys. I really do. And I have no problem, again, if you want to keep them, trying to hold on to them and try to re-sign them. But we clearly didn't want to re-sign McKinney. We clearly didn't want to re-sign Barkley. We clearly thought we could re-sign guys like Tyrod Taylor and Azeez Ojulari. We couldn't. This is an issue. Somebody needs to put down the peanut butter jelly sandwiches and work in communication.
Yeah.
That's where it boils down to. So, all right. Let's get into the conversation of the guy that everybody's calling the replacement for Azeez Ojulari. Let me be very, very clear on this before we even get into this. This guy does not replace Azeez Ojulari. Does not. So that is Chauncey Golston who replaces Azeez Ojulari. This is you could say this is Boogie Basham's replacement, who we also lost this offseason here. That's more like it. But the Giants have signed a new edge rusher here. And he's probably an improvement over Boogie Basham, actually. He is Victor Dimukeje. I maybe mispronounced that slightly. I apologize if I'm butchering it. We literally looked up videos beforehand to make sure we're pronouncing this correctly. 6'2", 262 pounds. And he is, decent. Like I said, a decent upgrade over some of the guys we had on the bench last year. But he's not going to blow things out of the water. He is still 25 years old, though, so he's still young enough that he could improve. Last year, 11 games, 0 starts, 15 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 5 QB hits, and a forced fumble. His PFF ratings, 75.1 overall, which is actually pretty high. 75.8 pass rush grade. That's really high for a guy with a very limited amount of time frame. It's kind of makes you wonder why he didn't get more time to actually play defense with Arizona, where he was playing the last few years. 53.2 run defense grade. Maybe he is Azeez Ojulari's replacement after all. Good pass rusher, can't stop the run. He appeared in 207 special team snaps last season. That's a career low for him. So he's been a guy who's been very involved with special teams. He's got 4 career sacks, as I know people love talking about sacks with edge rushers. 4 career sacks overall. All 4 of them, though, were in 23. So he's had 1 year with 4 sacks and 3 years with not a single one. 55 career games overall, 8 starts in all 4 years with the Cardinals there. Also came out of Duke, which I know is going to scare people there, but it is what it is. No more Duke players. At least he's not a quarterback. But like I said, I think he's a decent addition to the room because, again, I'm not looking at him as Azeez Ojulari's replacement. I'm looking at him as Boogie Basham's replacement, Timon Fox's replacement. That's what we're looking at there. And in that kind of role, he fits. He fits. So, yeah. And the Giants are definitely going big on special teamers, you realize, this offseason, by the way. The third guy they're bringing in that's like a special teams guy. Makes you wonder if they weren't happy with the coverage, especially with the new kicking rules this last year or so. Definitely something they seem to be prioritizing, though. So, all righty. Let's pay the bills, guys. And then we're going to get back and talk about some college football players here, some quarterbacks specifically, because let's be honest, we still need 1 or 2 or 3. So we're going to talk about them. We've gone through a lot of the quarterbacks already with you guys here in this upcoming draft. We haven't talked about Tyler Shough yet, and a lot of people have been asking for him. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys what you're asking for there. We're also going to get down with our top 10 list of quarterbacks available in this 2025 draft as well. So let's pay the bills real quick, and then we will be right back.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. And, of course, as always, you can support the show by going ahead and doing a super chat here on YouTube, sending stars on Facebook, or the free way to share the show. Tell a friend. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, guys. Appreciate you guys always for the support there. So, all right, let's get into our quarterback talk because, we got a guy that everybody's been asking for information on more and more. We just haven't done much with it because, quite frankly, towards the bottom of our list here. We've had a lot of stuff to talk about this offseason. But it's time. It is time to talk about Tyler Shough and do the scouting report here for him. This guy, I think, owns the record for most years in college football. I feel like that's where we're at here. It's insanity. He's 25 years old, guys. He's going to be 26 by the time the season starts. This man makes Michael Penix Jr. look young. That's where he's at. Okay?
That's it a lot.
He makes Bo Nix look like a wee baby. He's from Chandler, Arizona, one of 5 kids, so big family growing up there. Went to Hamilton High School, started his junior and senior seasons there, set school records for losses, first off, which is interesting. Completions, attempts, yards, and touchdowns. So he's had a lot of good ones there. We got to include the one bad one. The school's been around for about 20 years, and they literally had their second worst season that junior year for him, and that's why some of the losses. Obviously, most people only play 1 year as a starter in high school as a quarterback there, maybe 2, which is what he got, but a lot of them are just one and dones kind of thing. When he graduated, he had offers to go to school at Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, Michigan, South Carolina, Indiana. So a lot of nice big schools there. Chose to go to North Carolina, but switched a few months later to go to Oregon. So 2018, played in his 18 snaps before redshirting the rest of the year. They got to shut him down. So that was 3 games overall with no passing stats whatsoever to speak of. 19, he was Justin Herbert's primary backup. That just tells you how long he's been playing. How long has Justin Herbert been now in the league? I think 19 was his last year. So that would be 5 years.
Yeah, it would make sense. He already got an extension. So
yeah, 5 years in the league, and he was his backup. It's chaos. In that season, 5 games, 0 starts, 12 of 15 for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns. Interesting thing is only 12 completions, but 3 touchdowns. It's not a bad ratio. I would take that. 2020 was named the starter for the COVID season, as we remember it now. He started off great, but the team lost back-to-back games to Oregon State and Washington. The team barely made it to the Pac-12 championship, and the whole reason they didn't is because one of their games got canceled because of COVID issues, and had they lost that game, it probably would have booted them out of there. But they did end up going to the to the championship game. He started losing some snaps at that point in some series to Anthony Brown at the quarterback position. And then the team lost their bowl game to Brock Purdy's Iowa State team, which, again, Brock Purdy's been in the league for how long now? Sheesh. I feel like this guy's going to collect ARP before an NFL paycheck at this point. It's like ridiculous. That season, 7 games, 106 for 167 as far as pass attempts and completions, 1,559 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. At that point there, he transferred. And this is one thing that I see with him a lot is he faces some adversity, I feel like, and he transfers. So,
get a trade, get a new team.
Yeah, things aren't going away. I'm out. That's not something I like to see in a quarterback, personally. It tells me a little bit about mental makeup on him overall. Anyway, transferred over to Texas Tech University, earned the starting job there, but broke his collarbone week 4. So didn't really get to play very much. 4 games, 64 of 92, 872 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then again, he won the starting job in 22, but then misses a few games when he injured his left shoulder. He was named the Texas Bowl MVP that year, though, when they beat Ole Miss. 7 games, 106 of 177, 1,304 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Then 23, the man rolls his ankle back-to-back plays. That's not something you see very often in the game. X-ray showed he had a broken fibula, so that ended his season just 4 games in again. 4 games, 67 of 111, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He faced a little adversity. So what did he do? He transferred again. 24 entered the transfer portal and switched over to Louisville. Had his first big season, which I guess 7th time's the charm here at this point. Second all-time passing yards per game in Louisville history, 266.3. Second overall and passing touchdowns per game as well, 1.92. The team got into the Sun Bowl this year as well. But he decided not to play in order to prepare for the draft. 12 games this season, 244 completions out of 389 attempts, 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So that's what basically has got him interested now in, people are interested in drafting him. That's a decent season to have. Not amazing, but it's a decent season to have. This is from the Draft Network. They listed his strengths and concerns. Strength, easy velocity, minimal wasted movement and throwing motion, varying arm angles, underrated mobility, and maturity. Concerns: age. I said in parentheses, in regards to performance ceiling, which is true. I mean, you're 25, going to be 26 going into the season. How much room is there for growth at 26? Probably not much. Ability to drive passes downfield. Lower half mechanics. One read QB at times. That's been a theme, I feel like. One read QBs. We've had a lot of those in this draft here.
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. But here's where I look, and then I want to hear your thoughts on him there, Rob. We got a guy who had a decent last year when he finally got healthy the first time in a long time for a full season. But you got a guy with injury concerns now. It's been enough years. You can say injury concerns. You know, you got a guy who is older now and probably doesn't have as high a developmental prospect because of the age. And then you throw in the fact that the guy has the issue still at 26. You know, at least in a few months, he'll be 26, where he's one read quarterback. You know, has issues with some of his mechanics still. Like at 26, you should have all that stuff figured out by now. You should be going into like your prime years, basically. And I think that's why he looks so good at Louisville. Is he's literally a man playing with boys. I don't mean to say that in a Michael Jackson kind of way, but I'm just saying, like, that's what he is. He's 25 right now. He was 25 all season, playing against guys that are 19, 20 years old.
Be great to be 25 again.
I know. It's listen, I would love to be that young again. I'm just saying though, like that's what he is. He is an adult playing against kids.
So yes, he is old. He is a man compared to these college boys.
He's a man.
He's a man. Man. Anyway, but yes, he's going to be 26 this year as the NFL when he gets drafted. But you could also say he spent 2 years, which was one with the 2 rolled ankles with a broken ankle, and then with a broken collarbone. All right, fine. The fibula where it connects to the ankle. A lot of people call that a broken ankle, but yeah, whatever. Hairline fracture above going into the one bone into your leg. Yes. Anyway, he also had a broken collarbone. Yes, he was injured 2 years in a row. I don't know if that calls for automatic injury prone. Just make sure that guy gets sponsored by milk or something.
Dude, he's been playing. He played 42 games in 7 seasons.
It's nuts. But
that's 6 games a season
on average. But you have 2 of them where he left in the 4th game
because of injuries.
Yeah, broken bones.
Here, you want to play? You want to play that? You could play game. Fine. Take out the 1 injured season he had, and in 6 seasons he played 30 games.
Then you would have to take out that whole season.
But I'm just saying.
That's mathematically that's just
kind of scary.
You're not wrong, but the guy needs to drink some milk and I don't know, take something else. Don't go on Ozempic because he needs his bone density.
He definitely needs the bone density.
But that being said, he also missed those 2 seasons, so you didn't get the experience as a boy that you would in college because you didn't sit there behind the line of scrimmage because you were on the sideline. Yes, a smart player would be looking at the books, doing whatever, but it's not in-game experience like you would get typically in your college career because you're off on the sideline with a broken something, whatever it may be. So I could understand some people saying, all right, yeah, he's
Van Wilder.
Pretty much. He's got room to grow. Van Wilder grew. He graduated. He got his points. It was a happy ending.
It wasn't? That's a happy ending in Cleveland, I heard too. That's a whole separate thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got what's the Tara Banks or whatever her name was?
Oh my.
But that being said, it's like you talk about the experience. It's also an experience due to injury. He was a grown man playing against young guys,
yes,
if you will. But it's also COVID times, which is a weird time for a lot of people.
Yep. Is this the last COVID draft, by the way? It's got to be the last COVID draft, right?
It has to be at this point.
You'd hope so.
So you take that into factor, like, and you go somewhere, like, he may be able to learn a couple new tricks as an old dog, but I wouldn't expect much more. But to say like he should have all his faculties of in-game experience already, there's plenty of quarterbacks that learn coming into the NFL once you get into the NFL. That's usually how they thrive. Like there's some guys you take like, but once again, if he wasn't injured in COVID years, could have been different.
And if the queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Well, it's probably why there's a king.
I'm just saying, like
that saying's old. She's dead. Stop bringing up Drew.
It's true. She is. Not bad. I apologize to the royal family. It wouldn't sound right in the reverse. But yeah, like I said, my honest assessment of him is he's going to be the guy that's in for a couple of years. May occasionally do something where you go, maybe there is a chance, but he'll be out in a couple of years as well because of that. Because he's just not that good. I just don't think he is. And he'll make a little bit of money, and he'll go open up a used car dealership somewhere in Arizona, probably. You know, like it's just where I'm at with him. Like I feel like he's a guy that's going to be out for after a couple of years, or he'll be a guy that's just deep on the depth chart you never see. Like I'll give you this as a good example. Bailey Zappi. Don't even looking it up. Where does he play?
Didn't he just get signed somewhere? Jets?
See, you don't know. That's what he's going to be. Bailey Zappi. By the way, he's with the Chiefs.
Oh, that's right. I think he's going to have. He's probably going to have a career backup spot. Like
if he gets a career. I think he's been out in a couple of years. It needs to be deep on a depth chart somewhere, and you won't ever see him. And don't forget he's even still in the league. Or he'll be out.
You're going to forget about him, but he's going to be one of those players that just goes around the league as a backup here or there.
Yeah.
Like if Rudolph can make it in the NFL, I have faith in Shough.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
I'm not saying we should get him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying his career.
We need someone. All right. Let's go through our top 10 quarterbacks here, guys, for this upcoming draft. So, at this point here, we've gone through all the big names in the quarterbacks, and we did this a little early even and went ahead and did some of the scouting even early on these guys here. And we'll probably dive into some more of these guys probably at some point here, but as it gets closer to draft time. But we thought it'd be kind of fun to go give a top 10. Now, Rob, do you think we should start at 10? Or should we start at 1?
You know what? I think we should start at 1 and count down to the bottom because, like,
let's go for it then.
Because I think everyone knows kind of where we stand in the top 3-ish. But I think it gets a little spicy as it goes down.
Yes. So, number 1, Chad Powers, Penn State.
Think fast, be fast. Think fast, be fast. Think fast, be fast.
Yeah, phony. No, number 1's obviously Cam Ward out of Miami. Let's be honest, he's going to be probably the first overall pick. The Giants don't have a shot in hell of getting him. Thank you, Drew Lock and the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah,
but that's where we're at. Don't need to say too much on him. He's the best prospect in quarterback to me. He is the highest ceiling. There's a little more risk because he's a little more of a risk taker himself, and that comes into play there. But he's got the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks here on this draft by far.
Yes. And he's gone out and proved himself this year quite a few times.
Yep. Literally set NCAA records.
Yeah.
That's always good. Number 2.
Oh, you got Mr. Shedeur Sanders himself.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. I have to say it that way. I'm trying to talk Giants fans up in case we draft him.
There's probably a good shot we draft him.
Listen, it wouldn't shock me at all. And I'm not buying the bullshit hype that he's not that good and he's dropping down boards left and right. I feel like that's being leaked by people that want to draft him later on.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Raiders.
Thibodeaux, like, all over again.
It's Raiders. I'm telling you, it's the Raiders. I think the Raiders are bashing him, hoping he drops to 6.
I mean, you get that all the time. I mean, granted, I shouldn't say we bashed him, but, like, we've said from pretty much end of the season that we thought of NFL season that we thought Cam Ward was the dude. we thought he's the guy that's going to go number 1. Store, like he had, like what you get out of Store. Like he's not.
Shador is what Shador is.
I don't think he's going to elevate much. He's got probably the highest floor of any of these quarterbacks coming out. So you're guaranteed to know what you have without failing. So if you're okay with the way he played in Colorado, if you will,
in Colorado,
you should you'll be happy with what you get, but don't expect him to turn into the next Patrick Mahomes.
I feel like he's going to be a starter of this league. He's just 100%. Not going to be a high-end starter.
He's going to be like probably your average starter. Like he's going to be like, we're not going to be probably
like Jalen Hurts.
Ooh,
I had to take a shot. I had to take a shot at the Eagles fans. No, his play style is not like that at all. That's not even a fair comparison. I just had to take a jab at Eagles fans.
Yeah.
But he's that guy that's like, he's a starter. You know what? I'm going to use it this way. Alex Smith. He's a starter, but he may not get you the championship. That's what I feel like it's going to be.
That's probably a really good comparison. Like,
yeah, like
not same gameplay, but yeah, like
like they had to bring in Patrick Mahomes to get to championship level. Which I mean, granted, who's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game already. So
actually, maybe that's not.
No, but like they brought in another quarterback because they felt like they could max out what they could do with Alex Smith. Like they weren't going to win a championship with him. They thought. I have the same vibe with Sanders. I don't think he's that guy, but I think he's a legit starter of this league.
I also feel like Alex Smith side rant that he always got the short end of his stick or whatever team he went to. Like, let's talk about him on Denver. Like, dude was putting up like 45 points a game. Then he was the Alex Smith. Wasn't he
San Francisco and then Kansas City and Washington? I want to say.
Wasn't he the one that was replaced by Mr. Jesus himself?
Tim Tebow? No.
Who's there?
I don't know. I have to look it up for you, to be honest with you. Was it Kyle Orton? Is that what you're thinking?
No.
I have to look it up. I would have to look it up. But no, he's like I said, he was San Francisco. I looked up to verify San Francisco and then Kansas City and Washington. So Womp.
Yes.
Womp. I have to look it up to see what it is. But like I said, that's the way I compare him to. I compare him to Shador Sanders. All right. Number 3. Jackson Dart, Mississippi. Ole Miss there. Now, let me be very clear. There is a massive drop-off between 2 and 3. It's a drop-off between 1 and 2. There's a massive drop-off in my eyes between 2 and 3. This is not to say that Jackson Dart will be great. This is to say that Jackson Dart is the 3rd best quarterback because there's not a lot of good quarterbacks. He's got a chance to do something. He's got a chance to be good. Don't get me wrong. I just see a lot of DJ in him, and that scares me.
Yeah.
Doesn't read defense as well. Doesn't throw with the anticipation, but he's got a hell of an arm. He's put up a lot of stats there at Ole Miss. He's got a possibility, but I just don't see it as a huge possibility.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to start, yeah. And then.
Yeah. It's hard to be positive about him. I'm sorry. I want to be positive. But Deb looked it up. I feel like she was on here saying
Kyle Orton. I was just looking
Kyle Orton. Yep. I thought so. I told you that was Kyle Orton. As soon as you said Jesus, I was like, probably Kyle Orton. He kind of had that like a religious beard, like he should be on the cover of a Bible.
Touche.
But they always do in the Bible. It's always a picture of Jesus or this random sun over the Grand Canyon looking place, even though there's no Grand Canyon anywhere in the Middle East.
Yeah. Is he off in the Grand Canyon? All righty then.
All right. Anyway,
right, up next.
Before we get canceled here.
Yeah.
Next up,
Quinn Ewers.
Texas.
Yeah, he's a Longhorn over here. He has potential to be better than what he is in this draft, but he's so inconsistent. Like he just drops down. Like I could see him going lower than 4. If he was more consistent, he would definitely be higher. But just as Drew said, if the king had testicles, he would be the king or something.
If the queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Well,
Wow,
there's a king. We just went through this. The queen's gone. Let's not bring it up. Anyway,
if the king had a peach, he'd be the queen.
He'd be saved by Mario.
Anyway, that's peaches. That's different.
Yeah.
Anyway, Queen Ewers. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think there was wrong with him this year. I really do. I think that Quinn Ewers was hurt this year much more than he let on. I do think he is a project guy. I think, if you sign him, if you draft him, you better plan on sitting him for at least a year, letting him work with somebody to go work on some of the issues he has, build the confidence up as well, because I do think some of that lost him in Texas, but he's got potential, guys. He's not a nothing. He's just not a guy that you would go, ooh, this is the guy to replace the so-and-so and be the next starter. No, he's a guy you draft to be a backup and see if he might develop into a starter. That's what he is. And it's sad we're on our fifth quarterback, a fourth quarterback, I should say, and we're already in that kind of category. That just shows you how bad the year is. Fourth quarterback, think about it, last year, was like Penix or Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy. What a difference a year makes. No, but I'm saying like those three, depending on who you are and how we rate them. Yeah, Penix is number 4, but I'm saying that's a little crazy. It's a big difference in a year. So, number 5, this is the guy that I am a big fan of personally. Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon, who I really think, I've said it again, I'll say it again over and over again until someone believes me. I think this is a guy that you give the right system to. It's got to be the right system. And you give him the right protection because of the height issues he has. And I think he could be a loaded mid-end starter this league, which, again, is not a glowing endorsement. But in this draft class, that's a good endorsement. That's where I feel like he is. He's experienced, he's efficient, and he's worked with a lot of coaches here over the years. He's not the guy that's been in college forever. 3 schools. So, yeah, like I said, Dillon Gabriel, I think, underrated prospect in this draft.
Yeah, and then we have Will Howard up next. That's ranked a little bit lower.
Ohio,
Mr. Buckeye. He's a big old guy himself. That's pretty much. He's like an old school football player, just big and tough.
Hanging tough. We're rough.
Yeah,
that song, guys. You're way too old.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't even know true.
New Kids on the Block. That was.
Oh, that was like right there with the customer. Like first I listened to music.
Oh
yes, I know. Oh,
hanging tough.
Rocky back.
But
yes, Howard is the old school big tough guy. He's pretty consistent with his accuracy, but he's not going to throw you the deep ball.
Well,
that's what it comes down to. And then he's also kind of, when you go down deep, his arm strength's once not that there, but it's also he tends to lock on a target, right?
Well, I think my biggest issue for him is more than anything is the fact that I don't know if what I saw at Ohio State is legit, or if what I saw in Kansas State's legit. Because this Kansas State Will Howard, I have no interest even in whatsoever. The Ohio State version of Will Howard, I liked. How much of that was Ohio State and what they put around him, and how much of that was him?
Well, I don't know. I think we're proven with the coaching. So
that's what I'm saying. We don't know, but I'll give that to him at that point. But I'm saying we have no way of knowing that. So if you're telling me I can get this guy in a 4th round kind of spot and pick him up, and worst case scenario is a cheap backup for a couple of years, it's not a bad pick.
No,
not
at all.
Kind of the Joe Milton of the draft. But that's like I said, that's where I have him at. I think a guy you bring him in to be your backup, and you see if you can develop him further. And if you can't, you can't. No harm, no foul, because he's a 4th round pick. But if you can, great. You just got a really cheap quarterback.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, next up, we got Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. And listen, we talked about him. I like his game. I don't like some of the stuff he does overall. I think he needs to be better reading defenses. I kind of put him right there with Will Howard, to be honest. The two of the guys, I have trouble deciding who I would go with, which spot there, to be honest. I was kind of a toss-up between the two. So you end up getting, 6 Will Howard, 7 Kyle McCord, but that could go either way because they're both basically the same type of thing. A player that's played, a couple of years now, went to 2 different schools, really succeeded at the second school, been in college for, a little while now, and you don't know if what you saw at, with McCord at Ohio State was legit or what you saw in Syracuse was legit. Let's be honest, Syracuse, you're going down a level in competition. That probably didn't hurt him. You throw in the fact that also he's a little, a bit of a proponent of interceptions, a decent amount of interceptions there, 12 interceptions this past year at Syracuse, and that kind of scares me a little there too. But again, like Will Howard, you pick him up, you try to develop him. Worst case scenario, you got a cheap backup. Worst things can happen.
And that's probably where he's going to land himself in this NFL is someone's backup.
That's where I put him at. Go for number 8, Rob.
Number 8, Jalen Monroe.
No,
Monroe.
Not Monroe. He was inside the Declaration of Independence. James Monroe.
Milroe.
Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. Sorry, I was in Monroe earlier today.
Alabama.
Anyway.
This is probably the biggest shocker of this list of people, actually, I think, too, because a lot of people have him much higher than we do.
I do, but there's also some things you got to take away. Like, yes, he's got balls. He steps up in the pocket.
So he is the king.
Apparently. And he's not afraid to take a hit.
No.
And he's trying to throw the ball. And he's got decent mechanics as he's trying to throw the ball. But the thing is, he's also hurrying up in that pocket. He's making quick decisions, and they're not always the best. Like, let's talk about how he threw 5 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 2024 in the SEC play. Like, it just...
Yeah, I just feel like his throwing is his worst characteristic. And I have an issue. That's like, can you imagine saying, this guy could be a great running back if only he can run the ball?
Exactly.
Like you're a quarterback. You can't throw the ball. That's an issue.
Well, especially like last year, right? So he finished his career with 33 rushing touchdowns, which he had 20 last year.
Yeah.
So what was his strength last year?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we talked about it last year. We're talking about how Jermaine Burton, who we had, we liked a lot coming out of school, didn't necessarily do the best. That's for sure. But we looked at him and what he did in Alabama. We're watching film. And we're like, this quarterback sucks. Like he's not being put in a position to succeed. Well, guess what, guys? This is it. This is the quarterback that made him look bad. Now Burton's got his own issues now with the NFL and everything. Well, that's the story for the day there.
Yeah.
But Jalen Milroe has trouble throwing the ball. You know what? I would love to see him go in the perfect world. And this is going to sound harsh because I feel like people always get on people. Oh, a running quarterback can't succeed. Blah blah blah. All this. No. Running quarterback can succeed, though. I will still question how many of them win Super Bowls. But a running quarterback still needs to be able to throw. I would love to see him go to Baltimore and be their new backup. Let him sit for a couple of years behind, Lamar Jackson. Let him watch what he does. Learn from him. Because let's be honest, that is a dream scenario for him. He needs to develop. He's not a kid you can throw out there right now. Even the bowl game this past year, his receivers at Alabama were giving him looks like WTF when he was throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Like he's just not there. Now, you can also sit there and say, okay, well, he's not there 4 years into college. Will he ever get there? It's a valid question. I can definitely see where somebody would ask that question. And what kind of room for growth is there really? But he's also 22 years old, guys. He's not 26, 25.
Yeah.
He's got some years with him that he can sit behind somebody, learn to play the game the more NFL style way, and see what you got out of him. But if you draft him in the second round, guys, you're dooming yourself in my eyes. You're putting him into a scenario. You're going to force him to play before he's ready.
So
let him sit for like a year or two. before he even touches the field. He should be a third-string quarterback this year for that reason. And it's not because I'm trying to hate on him. I'm trying to give him a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
So, all righty. Number 9.
9.
This is where we're getting to the bottom of the barrel here, guys. It's kind of bad. Curtis Rourke, the Canadian himself. We had his brother, obviously, Nathan Rourke, in with us last year for a little bit. Curtis Rourke had a really good, season there for Indiana after going through Ohio. We know he's got the injury. He may not play at all next year. So, you got to see what's going to happen there. He's got a torn ACL. So you really want to let him sit probably for a year. But this is the guy that if you want to be patient and you want to let him sit for a year and see what he's got, what the hell? It's not hurting anything. He's got some abilities, that's for sure. Just to what degree? I mean, I think his ceiling is probably backup quarterback in this league. And I think his floor is probably gets injured, gets healthy, isn't as good, and is out of the league forever. So I wouldn't go anything more than like a 6th-round pick on this kid. Which is kind of scary for quarterback number 9.
Yeah.
That's how bad this class is, guys.
We talked about it before. This is a bad draft class for QBs.
Yeah. You get them early, or you don't get them. But yeah, Curtis Rourke, that's where we got him at.
Oh, yeah. And up next is
number 10.
10 some.
10 some. Whoa, what kind of video is that?
What would you like to know?
Oh, I know.
Whoa,
hello.
Tyler Shough. We literally just talked about Tyler Shough.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we don't have to go too much into that.
We don't really have to review what we just spoke
too
about.
Old, too injury prone, and if you want to take a flyer on a guy the 6th, 7th round, why not? But you can't go with any expectations.
Yeah.
Where is that? I know I'll get some hate for that because people like him. Some people that really like them, some self-shock, but it's where I'm at.
Listen, that's fine. You can like him.
Yeah.
You can like him in the 6th round.
Yeah, you can. You can. So, all righty, let's get the rest of the comments here, guys. So, let's see here. Jay says, 3rd rounder for Joe Milton is hilarious. Wildly inconsistent 6th rounder. Had one good game. They won a 3rd. Yeah, it's crazy. He says 6th rounder for Azeez is like getting a haircut from Drew's barber. Worthless. Wow. That's just mean. That's just mean. What if I told you you used to buy me a coffee money to get? I'm kidding. Listen, considering the cover-up job, considering how bald I actually am, and how I think they actually did a pretty good job blending wise. I'll take it. Jay says teams rely on the comp pick formula. Front offices don't like shipping out vets. Yeah, I get it, but at a certain point you got to realize you're messing up. And he throws out the skull and crossbones. He says, if you're getting injured a lot in college, it doesn't bode well for playing against men. No, it does not. Andre says, yo, how are you guys? I like your haircut, Drew. I approve. See? Andre approves. What now,
Mr. Andres? That's a translation thing.
Listen, before he even told us that he was from Brazil, I had no clue. I every so often I'm like, maybe I'm not getting the translation right in this, or the wordage right in this, or I'm understanding. But listen, that's Brazil to English is Brazilian Portuguese to English is a completely different ballgame. Like it's not easy. But I say that speaking one language and having trouble with anything beyond English. So
yeah,
yeah. Jay says, yes, the haircut is great. Going to send you some of Carlos Boozer's hair care products. Does he have hair care products? Am I missing something? He's bald, isn't he?
You're like, wait,
hold on. Carlos Boozer. I'm going to look it up. Oh, he had a hair transplant.
So you got a carpet for a head?
No, you know what? A lot of people nowadays they go to whatchamacallit, Turkey, and they get them there now because it's cheap.
Oh, it's country turkey. I thought
yes.
The turkey's
no, they go. They,
Why would
they
you
go.
want to kiss it on your head?
I'll take a pound of boar's head turkey over here and some follicles. All righty, guys. Well, that's gonna call it a night for us here. We'll be back in tomorrow night, so don't have to wait too long. We'll be also live potentially this weekend, depending on what happens there as well for you guys there. So if anything goes, listen, if we sign a quarterback, damn well, guys, we'll be on at some point. We're talking about it as soon as possible. So hit that bell on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, guys. That's how you're going to find out when things happen like that there. So as always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch/X. Wait, Twitch actually, no. Yeah. Twitch, X/Twitter. Wow. Yeah. I need some coffee tonight. And of course, Rob's. I like the profile. I feel like you just stop what you're about to say so you can do that. That's how bad it is. That's how much he enjoys this, guys. This is his joy in life. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. Appreciate you guys for watching. As always, we'll be back again, like I said, tomorrow night. We'll see you guys then. And of course, as always, Giants fans, go Giants!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.